Good afternoon, you ruddy lovely people. You are all very welcome along to your Tottenham to Bournemouth 2 match debrief, the show where we dissect Tottenham Hotspur's latest game and I give you my thoughts and opinions coming out of it. I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions as well in the comment section down below. So please do let me know what you thought about yesterday's game and what you think about today's video. I will be happy to discuss and debate with all you fantastic people. Look, let's get cracking with this knacking and let's start things off by talking about the lineup. Didn't have much of a problem with the goalkeeper selection, putting Vicario in there, good to see him back, and I didn't have much of a problem with the defence. Pedro Porro being a little bit suspect defensively recently, but I think that's more a problem with the system and the fact he's constantly inverting than it is Pedro Porro. Danzo deserved his start. I was quite excited to see Romero at the time. That changed pretty quickly, let me tell you. We'll get onto that in a minute. And Jed Spence obviously deserved his start. The midfield and attack made no sense to me whatsoever. So he's decided to not play with a 6. Okay, he never does. But he's also decided not to play with a number 10. Ange Postecoglou selected Bissouma, Bentancur and Sarr as his midfield 3. And this made zero sense to me because not only have you got no real cover for the centre-backs when teams win it off us in transition, you're also not playing a creative player. And what makes that even worse is we started with 2 quick wingers. I'm not a fan of Brennan Johnson, right? Odobert looked alright in the last couple of games that I've seen him in. Brennan Johnson, I don't know what he's done to deserve this start. But, okay, you're starting 2 quick wingers who are going to make runs forward. So why are you not starting a creative player to find those runs? You're starting Solanke in there as well as a target man. It just makes zero sense to me whatsoever that you're not playing that player in the midfield who can find those attackers. And that led, in my opinion, to us barely creating anything until we brought on James Maddison in open play. Because we did not have a creative midfielder in there. It's not rocket science. When you start inverting the fullbacks, you don't have them out wide. And you don't play a creative midfielder. How are you going to create chances? Where are they going to come from? In open play, I thought we were pathetic for most of the game. And I think a lot of that was down to the lineup selection. But I thought, okay, it's done and dusted now. It's the lineup, it's the team. Get behind the boys, not too excited about this game. It only took about 30 seconds for Romero, who I was quite pleased to see back in the lineup, have an absolute bozo moment and give the ball immediately to the Cherries, who should have went 1-0 up. I mean, Bournemouth in open play compared to us yesterday, it really was night and day. They were by far the better team, and if they took their chances, they should have been out of sight by the time, and would have been out of sight by the time Sarr scored that accidental wonder goal. But as I say, we'll get onto that a little bit later. So about 30 seconds in, it was something like that. Bournemouth have their big chance. Spurs avoid it. Romero keeps giving the ball away in the first 10 minutes, especially those first 5 minutes. Bournemouth were all over us like a rash. They backed off a little bit after those first 10 minutes. We started getting a little bit of the ball, quite a lot of possession as the game went on a little bit. By the 30th minute, we weren't comfortable because we weren't creating anything, but Bournemouth, as I say, their threat had died down a little bit, and then they started getting themselves back into the game a little bit more. Spurs weren't creating anything again. We start pushing players forward. Bournemouth win it off us in transition. And it's the same goal that we've seen conceded week in, week out. We invert the fullbacks, a team, win it off us in transition. They quickly play it to one of their wide players who has acres of space to pick out a pass. And that's exactly what happened. Bournemouth win it off us. They play it to Kirkes, and he's got so much time to think about what he's going to do. And that time allows him to play that absolutely unreal ball over the top of Jed Spence and leads to Bournemouth going 1-0 up. I mean, it just makes zero sense to me. You keep inverting the fullbacks and it just leaves so much space out wide when you push the team up so high. You know, if you're going to keep inverting the fullbacks, which I don't like anyway, you've got to drop that line back a little bit or play with a back 3 or do something, you know? For me, fullback should be out wide, but that's just the way that I want to play football and the way that I look at football. But to play, as I say, with 2 centre-backs, to push the team up as high as we do, and to invert the full-backs, you leave yourself so open in wide areas week after week, and any competent manager will work that out, wait for you to shoot yourselves in the foot, win it off you, and as I say, they've got an overload, you know? So Bournemouth go 1-0 up before half-time. Well deserved, in my opinion. We can't have many complaints. A couple of substitutions at half-time. Lucas Bergvall came on. I don't think he necessarily did anything special, but I thought he did quite a bit more than other players did on the pitch, to be 100% honest. Bournemouth go 2-0 up, but it's disallowed. Evan Ilson, they cut through us so easily. Spurs get away with one still. We're not creating anything because still we don't have that creative player on the pitch. And then Bournemouth deservedly go 2-0 up. They deservedly go 2-0 up. They take a 2-0 lead. You can't argue with it at this point. Bournemouth, they're controlling a game where they haven't really got much of the ball. That's what annoys me when people say, you know, a team has 70% possession. They're controlling the game, because what is controlling the game? Bournemouth controlled yesterday's game. Did they have less of the ball? Yes. But did they create more chances? Yes. Did they limit most of our threat for a majority of that game, especially up until we scored that first goal? Yes, so they controlled that game. They controlled what we were doing and what they were doing. And that led to them being 2-0 up, and deservedly so. If Semenyo could stay on side, it would have been 3. It would have been 3. So, Bournemouth 2-0 up. It looks like they are cruising to a win. Ange brings on James Maddison, and this is where the game begins to change. Pape Matar scores a brilliant accidental goal. Was it on purpose? Was it my bum? You know, what is it? No chance is that on purpose. No chance is that on purpose. But look, it's a great accidental goal. You take it, don't you? And then James Maddison, what a surprise. You have 2 quick wingers on the pitch. You play a creative player. And you know what he actually does? He plays a pass to those 2 quick wingers. It's Heung-min Son who's on the pitch at this point. Instead of Johnson, I believe is Odobert moved to the other side. I'm pretty sure that's the way we were at this point. But still, Son's obviously a better player than Odobert. But my point is, for a majority of that game, we had 2 quick wingers. The minute we brought an attacking midfielder, he started to find those runs, and that led to the penalty. Yeah, it was a completely stupid knobhead moment from Kepa, but it comes from James Maddison picking out the winger's run, which makes it even more mind-boggling that we didn't decide to start with an attacking midfielder if this was the way we were going to attempt to play. So Spurs get their equaliser. It's a good penalty from Son, to be fair. It's a good finish in the back of the onion bag. 2-2. Both teams a little bit frantic towards the end. Neither team really creating any big chances. And it ends 2-2. I would say good point, but it don't mean anything, does it? I mean, it's just such a pointless game, which really makes me think, right? And I said this in the match preview. You know what will happen with Archie Gray, right? He's been thrown in the deep end. Players like Archie Gray have been thrown in the deep end the last few months. And now that Ange is getting his favourites back, he's going to be dropped. What should have happened, considering we're not playing for anything in the Premier League, considering we're 13th, we're not going to go down, but we're also not going to get Europe, you give Archie Gray a chance. Congratulations, lad, you know. I've thrown you right in the deep end. You've been in the thick of it. And you've come out not necessarily shining, but with your head held high. Here's a go in your actual natural position, play a few Premier League games in the 6, and then us as fans can judge him in his actual position instead of being played out of position. But no, Ange's reward for being chucked in the deep end and doing a decent job out of position is to be benched. Mikey Moore. Keep raving on about how good of a young talent he is. Not even in the squad yesterday. If we're serious about a youth project, then why on earth are we not giving... And I know Archie Gray's not an academy lad, but why on earth are we not giving academy lads a go? We're not competing for anything in the Premier League. I'd much rather you play players like Ajay and, you know, Scarlett and Mikey Moore. I'd much rather see Lancashire. I'd much rather see these players than people like Timo Werner, Odobert getting minutes, in all honesty. Look, I don't mind us buying players from abroad, young talent from abroad, but I said this last summer. I want the, as I say, consistently brilliant players to go alongside those signings. I can't speak to allow us to compete. And I also, if we're going with this whole youth project thing, want to see some of our academy lads given a go. But honestly, if I was a parent right now, right, and I had an 11, 12-year-old son, and Spurs were scouting him, and any other Premier League club was, I'd tell him to go to any other Premier League club. Because as much as I love this football club, the way this club has treated academy players the last few years is an absolute disgrace. You get loaned out about 4 or 5 times, and then sold for about 2 million. It's ridiculous, man. We genuinely have some really good talent. And if there are fans who don't believe that the likes of Mikey Moore, Lancashire have got potential, well, at least let's find out, eh? Give him a go in the team, but no. He doesn't give them a go in the team. Players like Archie Gray, who didn't necessarily come from the academy, but players like Archie Gray, who really, really has given it his all the last few months out of position, gets completely benched. This whole youth project thing really is a myth to me. The academy lads, it's a kick in the teeth to them, not giving them any minutes whatsoever in the Premier League or yesterday. Yesterday, a real chance to actually play Archie Gray in the six. He decides not to do it. It's clear and obvious to me. Ange has got his favourites. He keeps telling us all and told us all, you've got to praise these academy lads. You've got to praise these young lads who are stepping up. Okay, I'll praise them. So then give them a go then. Give them a go when your actual players come back. But no, your actual players come back, they go straight into the first team. And these players who have bailed you out countless times get chucked right on the bench. It's ridiculous for me. It's a kick in the teeth to the academy lads. There's no structure with our academy and bringing players do compared to other clubs. I might do a standalone video on that, but it's just so frustrating. A chance yesterday to give Mikey more minutes, a chance to maybe give Scarlett minutes, a chance to start Archie Gray in the six, a chance to actually reward some of our academy lads with some minutes and reward the likes of Archie Gray, who have bailed us out of jail countless times and who was chucked in the deep end and has come out with his head held high, a chance in his natural position, but he gets completely dropped and not given a proper chance. And that's frustrating for me. I can't lie to you, that's frustrating for me. It annoyed me when Austin came straight in, did a fantastic job against Newcastle, and then we go and sign another goalkeeper who gets put into the team. Austin will be sold in the summer. We don't give Mikey more minutes. If this manager stays, which I pray to God that he doesn't, but if this manager stays, Mikey Moore will be gone in a little while. He'll be loaned out and then he'll be sold in a couple of seasons because he's not going to get the game time or the minutes at Spurs to properly develop. You know, I wish we could do what Arsenal did with Bukayo Saka and what they're doing right now with Ranieri, with Mikey Moore. Give him a real chance to shine in that first team, especially when you've got a few injuries like Arsenal have. That's what's given Ranieri the chance. I can't pronounce his name properly, but we start missing players on the wing, and he'd prefer to play in the likes of Odobert Werner than Mikey Moore. I mean, it's frustrating for me. Look, yesterday's game, I went through the goals, I went through the big moments. I thought for a lot of that game it looked men against boys. I really do. I'm watching Bournemouth, they're a team well coached. I'm watching Iraola on the sidelines shouting at his players, telling them what to do, trying to organise his team. I'm watching them press. They look well structured. They look organised. And then I watch Spurs press, and it is genuinely like a load of under-11s just running towards the ball, like a load of moths heading for a flame. That's what it's like. You watch Bournemouth press, it's structured, it's organised, there's a plan there. You watch Spurs press, it's just every player running for the ball. Every single player just going towards it. As I say, moths into the flame. And yeah, night and day when it comes to the way both teams were coached yesterday. Bournemouth had a game plan. Bournemouth were tactically well set up. Bournemouth looked solid defensively. Bournemouth pressed extremely well. Iraola shouting instructions at his boys. Ange Postecoglou watching his team for a majority of that game being outplayed, hands in his pockets, says absolutely nothing. I'm watching Spurs press, moths into the flame. I'm watching Spurs defend cut open like a hot knife going through butter. I'm looking at our midfield. There's no structure. There's no six to cover the centre-backs. There's no creative player for a majority of that game. Just the way both teams were set up. Look, the game ended a draw, but I'm not letting that scoreline fool me. I watched two completely different teams going in two completely different directions yesterday. I really did. Bournemouth, I wish them all the best for the rest of the season. I hope they get into Europe, and they deserve it. They've been fantastic to watch all season. Iraola sets them up brilliantly, and I've got to be honest with you, I enjoyed watching them a lot more than I did than us yesterday. I enjoyed watching them press. They pressed really well. I enjoyed watching them defend. I enjoyed watching certain players. I thought Tavernier was fantastic to watch. Whereas with Spurs, when we had a lot of the ball, it was all static, it was all slow, it was all side to side, no direction. Bournemouth, they would get it immediately, try and play a pass to the wingers. That's the big difference. I look at that Bournemouth team and there's a plan. There's a structure. They're organised. I look at that Spurs team and I just can't figure out what we're doing. You know, is Bissouma dropping into the 6? One of the other midfielders trying to drop into the 10? I just don't understand the way that midfield's set up. I don't understand the way we're trying to score goals. I don't understand the way we're trying to defend. Two teams completely, as I say, different in the way that they're set up. Bournemouth well organised, Spurs an absolute shambles, in my opinion. Yeah. Men against boys yesterday. Men against boys. It's a point. Hopefully the players can take some confidence from the fact that they came back towards the end of the game into Thursday, because Thursday is a big game, no matter how disillusioned some of us feel right now. But as I say, as fans, are any of us going to take loads of confidence from that? I'm personally not. I can only speak for myself, but I'm personally not taking any confidence from the fact that we came back. Look, some people can delude themselves into thinking it was a valiant display and we showed real heart and desire in the second half and came back. But our goals came from bringing on a player that should have started, who plays a good pass to the wingers and their keeper making a stupid mistake. And the first goal was completely accidental, as good as it was. So both teams completely different in the way they were set up, structured and organised. Yesterday, hopefully we can go to Alkmaar. We've already been to Alkmaar. Hopefully we can take on Alkmaar. We can go through. I'm not hugely optimistic, if I'm 100% honest. Even if we do go through there again, I don't want to be so glass half empty. But I'm watching us yesterday. I'm watching us this season. I'm watching us in that first leg on Thursday against Alkmaar, and I'm thinking, even if we do pace them 6 or 7-0 in this second leg, if we play like we did away against Alkmaar in that first leg, away against a team like a Lazio, away even against a team like a Frankfurt, we're out, man. We're out because they'll punish us. They will punish us. The fact we're favourites for this tournament is mad to me when you've got teams like Lazio and Frankfurt who are high up in great leagues in Europe. Lazio smashing it in Serie A. Frankfurt, I believe they're third in the Bundesliga, whereas we're mid-table, just about avoiding relegation in the battle there this season. So look, really poor performance, men against boys. Watching both teams press, completely different. One looked like a load of youngsters, a load of under-11 just running towards the ball. The other looked organised, structured and well tactically set up. Two managers, completely different in my opinion. I'd love Iraola if Ange does go. But look, I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Maybe you saw the game different. Maybe you think the second half was a little bit better. Look, maybe it was a little bit better, but it couldn't have been worse than the first half, right? And I suppose we did score 2 goals. We did come back from 2-0 down, and as I say, hopefully the players can take some confidence from that. Maddison, I thought was a shining light when he came on. Bergwijn, I thought was better than other players, but that's not really saying a lot. Spence, I thought was pretty decent again, but even he yesterday had one of his worst games over the last few months. It wasn't necessarily a bad game, he just wasn't great like he normally has been the last few months. It was just a really, really poor day at the office, a really poor day. I mean, there's been a lot of draws this season that felt like losses and a lot of losses. For example, the 1-0 against Bournemouth, a way that we could have lost and probably should have about 4 or 5-0. So look, want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on the game. Take care of yourselves, have a smashing day, and as always, Enoch can leave you out. Come on, you Spurs.